Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today Bitcoin's at $104,000, just 6,100 short of the previous all-time high, and that's the amount of gain that we've seen on Bitcoin today, just in the last 24 hours, up 6,200 bucks. It was under 100, it's broken through the 100k psychological level, it's broken through the previous tops at 98,000 and a nice solid close here at 103. So of course that's getting everyone excited. We've also seen Ethereum go bananas and altcoins as well. We got the breakdown, so the big sign from USDT dominance. And the last thing I'm going to go through is the stock markets as well. Obviously your home and macro cycle analysis, we've got to cover it all. Stock markets, the real estate cycle as we lead into this blow off top move towards the end of the cycle, basically the peak into the 18.6 year cycle. Heaps as always to get through today. Hit the like, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And if you've been following for a while, we do have a special on TIA Premium today. The link is in the top of the video description. It's the Bitcoin Pump Flash Sale, 24 hours only. Links in the video description. Don't miss out. All right, first up, we need to say, have you said thank you today? Just got to start off with a slight joke here. Bitcoin 104,000. Trump thinks he's the Pope here, but have you said thank you today for this $104,000? We had a whole lot of losses over the last couple of months, but now very close to that previous all-time high. So in terms of the analysis, in terms of the technicals, it broke through the 99-ish $1,000 level, and of course 100k is not far from that. So good signs there. We've also got consolidation above 92,000, so that's the halfway point from the low to the high. It's getting close to the 3-day extension here at 50%. So this is this low to the top projected off the 3-day swing bottom. So this is your Gann Swing Pro. We're looking at this for the longer term swings, resistance, support levels. And all you got to do is turn on that swing line and we'll see that come up in purple. There it is. So it's running pretty hot into this 3-day 50% level. But in terms of blow off tops, I'll go through some price targets on the longer term chart. Just looking at the 3-day chart here, that 50% level comes in at 105, obviously close to the previous highs being around 108 to 109. The 100% extension would take you to 100 and call it 17,000, 117,000. And if the market was to extend from that point to 150% of this range projected off the low, that'll take you to 128,000. Now, I often put in a lot of doomish style analysis. Essentially, I'm getting quite cautious leading into this end of the peak. So I thought I'd throw a little bit of hopium at the beginning for you in terms of price targets, but don't take me wrong. Don't take it wrong. I'm just keeping a very cautious eye towards the end, because this market has been going up since November 2022. And we typically start to see a little more retail come in when Bitcoin breaks key levels like it just did in the last 24 hours, right above that $99,000, $100,000 level, and of course got to 104,000 closing price. So it's good signs for this final stage of the bull market. And yeah, I'm not popular when I talk about it being a final stage, because again, final stages can go on for quite a considerable amount of time. It's unlikely that the final stage is going to give you greater gains than what the entire bull market has done already. And in terms of percentages from the low to the high, that is 600%. So if you start to see signals or basically calls and headlines that Bitcoin is going to do more than that from, and I'm going from the lows because they're the good anchor points, 600%. I don't even leave enough room on this chart to give us 600%. If you start to see that, run for the hills. 600% would be somewhere in the vicinity of a $500,000 BTC. Of course, I have to say anything's possible, but I think it's very, very unlikely we're going to see 500K in this move. Please screenshot this, come back to it. If we do hit 500,000, we're probably all going to be pretty happy about that. But, well, of course, with history, it's very unlikely that you're going to see bigger gains than what the entire bull market has already done. Speaking of the entire bull market thus far, I've got the weekly chart here and I'll look at the cycles. So looking at left and right translated cycle, Bitcoin has been in a right translated cycle since the peak came in November, or the first breakout to new all-time highs in November 2024, got to the top. I'll zoom in so you can see. got to the top here in December, and then the current all-time high in January. This is a right translated cycle. Sure, it's in the middle of it, but it's on the right-hand side. Therefore, it is right. It is not left according to the analysis going from the lows to the lows. Some other people are looking at this being a left translated cycle. That's fine. That's their own analysis, but this is a right, looking at it from a 4-year perspective, low to low. And, if you've been following the channel, you might have seen this before. Final boss, grand final stage of the cycle leading into the peak. My view was always it was going to be a right-hand cycle. You can go back to videos from March 2024 when we were in a left side. It was in the left, and a lot of people were looking at this being the blow-off top, and that was the end. But it didn't seem ready in terms of the timing of the 18-year cycle, the 18-year US real estate and economic cycle. I've got to start explaining that, or saying the whole name, because people sort of relate that to only BTC. No, it's an 18.6-year US real estate and economic cycle, which is looking to peak sometime late 25, sometime in 2026. That's the peak. Then the crash to follow after that. That's the theory at this point in time. So that's the crash to follow after, not the crash in 2026, a crash after that point. We've got to get to the peak first, and then we can look at some sort of crash. What we've seen in the past is Bitcoin peak before the stock markets. So we're still in that journey up to a new all-time high, blow off top type territory, if you will. And my view, right-hand cycle, because of the overriding 18-year cycle, 2 to 4 red quarters in the bull. We chuck on the red quarters here, take off some of the noise on the chart, essentially just looking at red bars within a bull market. So that's a bull market, current bull market, and we have 1, 2, 3. So looking at the history of the bull markets, you'd probably expect this to be, well, the previous quarter to be the final red quarter, and we may not see any red quarters moving forward from here. There will be red weeks, of course. There may even still be some red months, but in terms of red quarters, very, very unlikely now moving forward. So things could get relatively quick. And that is an important piece that I'll get to later, looking at the Elliott wave cycle for the total crypto market caps, and then this sort of blow off top stage for commodities. The psychology of a market cycle, if you're new to the markets, maybe this is the first time you've seen this chart. If not, you've probably seen it around the traps a lot before. This particular person is suggesting we are here. What do we got? Ash Crypto here. I just like it because I don't have to put the chart together myself. And I'm thinking maybe we are in something like this stage now. We're looking into this period. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin's price has to rise to that. Even if it just started to shoot up and then put into complacency, that's still following the same pattern of the Wall Street cheat sheet, getting into that optimism, belief, and thrill. This is often the hardest part. So the easy part of the market is over. I always reference the lows as being the easy part, the depression and the anger. It just means you need time, patience. It's just much, much easier because the majority of people think the markets aren't coming back. We talked about this on the channel years ago at the lows, 2022, 2023. There was recession after recession after recession, calls didn't happen, and the lows are the easiest. So if you're going to make it in the game, stick around for the long haul. That's talking about it being in the game, Bitcoin, stock markets, real estate for years, so that you can see market cycles play out, and you'll have a reference point back to the peaks and the troughs to know where the emotions have been at and look at the price chart, and that'll set you up for the next move forward. So that's the psychology, looking at the sentiment. Let's get on with the crypto data here. We're sticking with the sentiment. We've hit 73. So 73 on the Fear and Greed Index now puts us at a fresh high that we haven't seen since the breakdown. So back in January-ish time, a few months ago now. Now, at this stage of the market, I'm a cautious bull. The negative to this, and we've got to look at both sides, so chill out. We've got to look at both sides. The negative to this is if this runs into greed too quickly. We've seen it in the past where it's dumped and then run into greed a little too quickly. That generally doesn't last too long because you don't get a nice strong buildup of basically washing out the leverage, so going from greed back to neutral or fear, and then that whole process continuing to repeat. Basically like what we saw in late 22, 2023 that led into that peak of 2024. It was just a lot of backwards and forwards with the market sentiment, washing out the grid, washing out the leverage in the system, which allowed the market to continue to climb and keep putting in higher lows. But if we get wild swings, we can take it back to 2019. There were some pretty significant wild swings back up into extreme greed, back down, and then into greed again. That typically leads to a lot of volatility, and you could either see one, the end of the cycle, so basically the market peaking what we would think is being too early. So it just ran up and hit this extreme greed too early, and then you might see the market close back underneath. Yes, you'll get a new all-time high. Yes, you'll get retail for a minute. Yes, you'll get higher prices, but it'll come at the cost of the bull market being rather short compared to previous cycles. And we haven't seen the exchange volume pick up yet either. So that's I guess we'll get the worrying stuff out of the way first before we move on to the more bullish things. But if we didn't see this pick up like this and it ran into a new all-time high, well, then you basically don't have the fuel for the fire to get things to continue going. You need to see breakouts on increased volume or higher volume. Otherwise, you end up with something like what we saw in 2021. As an example, we had the big move to the upside, huge volume dump, and then the next move to the upside didn't last because there just was not enough volume in the game. And of course, it all ran out from that point. So we're at risk of that at the moment. That's why I'm saying I'm cautiously bullish here, because we did have some volume come in as the market broke out to new all-time highs. That's a great sign. It came back, tested the tops. That's another great sign. But at the moment, the volume is just dropping off here on the monthly. It still has time. It needs to consolidate over the coming days and weeks. And hopefully this all works out with the cycle analysis of the 20-year cycle for the stock market, where we're expecting some sort of pause and correction in Q2. And if Bitcoin follows suit, then it may also get that pause, correction or pause in this period, which allows it time to consolidate. Liquidations have been going wild, nearly $1 billion in the last 24 hours. So one of the largest days since the February kerfuffle, and also the April lows here as well. And this was one of, if not the largest short liquidations, 830 million in the last 24 hours. So a lot of people are still trying to short the move to the upside. And although I've been looking out for some sort of pause or correction here, the thing that's kept us on the right side of the market is the Gann Swing Pro. You can see the yellow line here keeps showing higher lows on the daily chart, and they weren't broken, and the market then pushed higher. The thing that keeps you on the right side is having a system that will explain to you, that will show you when the trend is turning or if the trend is going to continue. So there is a lot of logical sense to say, well, we should have had a rejection here and then a deeper pullback because of the amount of move to the upside, the price range to the upside, the volume to the upside. It didn't occur, and then we got this this move to break past those previous tops. Eventually a correction comes, it always does, but just keep following with the chart pattern. So that's a bit of the negative stuff, if you will. If you want to call it FUD, go for gold. But now looking at the more hopium side of the market, the search volume for Bitcoin has really picked up in the last couple of days, breaking past the previous top there in April. So April 23 top has been broken. We're at 64 for Bitcoin, 20 for crypto. And as we've been following for the 12 and the 5-year charts, looking for a bounce here for Bitcoin and crypto. Yesterday was at, when we looked at it yesterday, it was at 8 for crypto, 20 for Bitcoin, and those lower readings were at 19 and 8. And we've just got a turnaround here for 9 for crypto and 20 for BTC. So I think yesterday this was slightly lower because we didn't have that extra data in for the last couple of days, and now that's turned up. So we're starting to put in, at the moment, hopefully, a little bit of a base here and that interest returning to the market. Now the big news, well, my big news is that USDT dominance broke. It broke 3 major areas last night. 2 major, and call it a third because of all these lows that were forming a bottom on the 50% level at 4.97. So basically the 5% level. And we got that massive red dildo. If you're following over on X, we've been waiting for this, watching for this, hoping we got a red dildo in our dreams. And here it is. We've got the breakdown of the 5%. and then a breakdown at a 4.75, all in the same day. And that is what we've been talking about that could lead to much, much bigger gains for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Because while this was going on here, this was only Bitcoin making the move. It needed to break down from key levels for the rest of the market to start making a move. And I shared that data with you yesterday, basically the analysis over these other periods when Bitcoin was making the moves and it needed to break down from key levels, in particular weekly swing and a 2-bar weekly. If you're unfamiliar with those terms, we're explaining it from a longer term perspective rather than sticking with a daily or an hourly. If you get larger moves on a longer time frame, basically longer time frame moves, it's going to give you a bigger move overall. So that's what we got over the last 24 hours, a nice breakdown here. So I've turned these texts back on. This was the fear and the bearishness. And should the USDT dominance continue down, get towards 3.7 and break 3.7, here it is once, twice, that's like a third-ish time, maybe even a fourth. If this breaks out here, that would send things absolutely wild. It hasn't done that before. Like we saw in 2021, it broke out, so money retreated and then came back into Bitcoin and cryptos, but just couldn't push through the previous support area. This time, however, we've got lower highs forming. We have a flat base forming here. If it can break this 3.7, that is going to send things absolutely bananas with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And if you're not prepared, you're gonna miss the boats. That's why I've talked about the TIA premium sale, link in the top of the video description. You can also get on board and just check out the free results from everyone that is posting about them in TIA. They've been trading Hype, Sol, Bitcoin, More Sol, Ondo, BNB, Sui, and basically go through, read this in trading results, read trading reviews. It's all for free in the public community here on Discord, and that'll give you an idea of what people are doing with their trades. And it's not all pretty. There are some reds here. Here's one, and just having a bit of a discussion about how that works. There's new traders, old traders. One thing that everyone has in common is that they are working towards improving their trading results. And over this period, I think is going to be one of the best times for trading because of the cautiousness leading into some sort of cycle peak. As they say, the good times don't last forever, but while they're here, make hay while the sun shines. 5,700 points, slightly higher volume here. We've been waiting and being very patient here for any sort of signs that we're going to get a pause in the price action, and this seems to be it. It's been now about 8 to 9 days where we've hit 5,700 points, slight pullback, another hit, and a lower close here. Volume overall has been dropping off, but as I've been watching, could be something similar to the pause that we saw in COVID. Basically, a nice big strong bounce out of an extremely volatile period. The market had time to digest that move, that bounce out, and it continued to show strength. The strength that we're watching, if you're paying attention to your 50%, you can see the market broke above 50% and then consolidated above that level. So let's take that off logarithmic, back onto linear scale, nice solid closes above it, then was able to build on that consolidation, broke out again, consolidated again, higher lows continue to form, and another breakout with that consolidation. So that's the other style of pattern that I'm waiting for, or watching for here. Do we get a bigger pullback into previous support zones, which is still part of a strong pattern, just slightly less strong than if it holds above the 50% level at 5,500 points. All that means is the timing for the next move. Above 50%, probably going to see higher prices sooner rather than later. Below 50%, that just means you're going to take a little longer to get to those higher prices. All in all, I still see things going higher for the stock market, higher for real estate and the economy, although things are starting to show signs of wear, and those signs come in the way of the 10-year yields. We saw the yields go up. This is not great for the debt in the US. You've got 4.37%, so the yields are up here, but they need the yields to be a little higher because the bonds have been dropping and they need money to come back into the country. So things in a broad sense for the US are not entirely great, but it doesn't mean that the peak is in. I think we've got further to run, but you can see the cracks beginning to form here. That leads us over to Ethereum and some more altcoins. ETH, BTC is getting close to doing enough to get the overbalance in time and price on ETH BTC. That would mean that it is almost time for ETH to outperform Bitcoin. So that number is at 0.024. You've probably heard me talk about this for a while. I've been talking about it for a while because, well, Ethereum has been doing nothing for a while. ETH BTC has been keeping pace with Bitcoin, which is a good sign, but it's been sitting here at 0.019. If it can get back above that level, that's the first good sign there. It needs to get a few more closes and a weekly swing direction change. This direction is still down, lower highs, lower lows, for a very, very long time here, basically a year. You have to go back to May 2024 was the last time that it broke out. Why is this happening for ETH? Well, that's what retail will ask. There's plenty of different headlines going on, talking for 3,000 ETH, some were talking for 80,000 ETH, some talking 100,000 ETH. ETH's done some upgrades and so on and so forth. So be careful from this point forward, especially with such abnormal bars for Ethereum. But the good news here for ETH is that it, on the USD chart at least, it's overbalanced in time and price. The biggest rally in this entire decline was $700, $696. You can see right here out of that bounce. It has now done more than that rally. It's somewhere in the vicinity of 800 and nearly 40 bucks. So it's had an overbalance in price, an overbalance in time. It's broken back above those swing lows, and now it's done a short-term 50% level as well. So these are all good signs for ETH. Even if you do see a correction, at least that's telling you there has been a major swing from the bearish side to the bullish side, which then leads me to my next point. We've hit our 1,400 target. I was looking for a $1,200 target, somewhere around here, being the double top extension. And I would say that's far unlikely to happen now because of the last 24 hours. It is now overbalanced in time and price. So we need to see these signals shifting from the bearishness to the bullishness. That's happened. Any sort of corrections here could be a good sign for buy the dip opportunities and moves higher for ETH. Okay, speaking of other altcoins, Sui's also had another reasonably good move, pushing back past 50%, breaking past those highs, closing above those tops. I think everyone at this stage is going to be talking about altcoins and the hope of bigger and bigger gains. We've seen multiple swings now out of the low. Doesn't mean it can't keep going, but you've got your sort of, first range out, another big move up, and now we're into this this next move up out of the largest one here. So as always, I'm just playing it cautiously. You've got Sui BTC also looking okay. It's hit the 50% level here. Ideally, you want to see consolidation above that level to get bigger gains again on Sui. Pretty good. I'd still be keeping it on my strong watch list. Sol's hit 163. So it's getting some good momentum, breaking past the 50% level. So also in a relatively good position again, breaking past those tops. And Sol BTC, so is it going to outperform? Still underneath the levels, but it could just be a matter of time until it's able to break past those tops and get back above the 50%. 0.0018. So that's the premium that you pay with trading if you're looking for the strong versus the weak. Sure, you could have said, I want to buy the bottom, I want to buy all these lows, but those people typically, they typically buy all of the lows on the way down. I'm on the Sol BTC chart. Let's look at Sol USD. They'll buy probably all of the tops, more so on the way down. And then once they get one or two, they don't realize that their average price is probably somewhere way back up the top because they were doing it all through the highs. And so then you still need to see this market go up just to get into a break even. So paying a premium can often help you out and keep you in the right side of the market and keep that average price down. Yes, even though you're not buying the exact low, all your job to do is to take a chunk of profits out of the middle and look for those stronger ones in the meantime. And last one I want to look at here is XRP. XRP has also had a day up, not past the highs, but overall it's been sitting above the 50% level a lot longer than Solana has done at this stage. So looking relatively okay here as well as another one on the strong list. For whatever reason, camera's given up. Let's carry on. And I want to show you this chart here. So if you stuck around this long, thank you very much. Hit the like, subscribe. Don't forget the TIA premium sale on today. Sign up here and you'll also see all of the free community, looking at the trade results, the updates. You can go and read reviews from people that are doing very, very well with their trading and investing portfolios. This particular video is what Michael put out today, just very, very recently. So I'll leave a link to Michael's channel in the video description. Go and check this out for the big blow off top move at the end of the cycle. Elliott wave count still well and truly on track. Every time we get these big moves to the downside, we get a lot, Michael and I get a lot of skeptics, maybe not haters, but just skeptics saying it's broken, it's wrong, it's not going to happen. And although it can be true, you often just hear from them when the market is at these lows. As it continues to climb out of the lows and start to show some pretty good signs of strength in the near term, just like we had with our weekly chart, you guys remember that? 1, 2, 3 weeks to the upside. Now we've got our fourth, which is a major, major signal for bigger gains. You don't hear these skeptics anymore. They disappear. And every time market goes down, they come back. And the market booms, all the skeptics disappear. So in this video, Michael's looking at the extension here of the Elliott wave. And as we lead into this 5 of 5 of 5, basically the biggest leg of them all, we might be in the midst of 3. So the third wave within an overall wave is usually the largest, and we're in the start of the first, looking for a pullback or any sort of pullback or pause that would lead to. And then the third wave has to be larger than the first. So whatever we see now, the third wave is going to be bigger than what we just saw. So for argument's sake, if we're still in this wave 3, if we're still in the bull market, then the wave 3, and this is the top, the wave 3 will have to be bigger than this. So the market could pause here and only go 92, 97. Maybe that's all it does. It just pauses here. But the move higher is going to be bigger than what we just saw. So look at that. Let's just look at a 2 somewhere back down here as a correction. And we don't know if this is the top yet. There's no confirmation this is the top, but we'll just call it the top for now. And we're looking at 100% repeat. There's 122. 137. All right, I'm even a skeptic. I'm a cautious bull here. I'm a very, very cautious bull. Is that possible? 138. Get onto Michael's channel. Let's talk to him about that. Can we see 138, or have I absolutely butchered the call here? Either way, I think it's some really nice hopium to nearly end the show on with. And the last bit of hopium in terms of this blow off top, more signals that I'm watching when it comes to the end of the cycle. Phil's put up a good one here. You're looking at hedonistic spending, ridiculous, over the top type of spending that you see at the peaks every time. And it might not be in your country. You might not see this where you are in the UK or in other areas around the world that aren't like this. But when we're looking at it from a global perspective, there are a lot of signs that are coming in. As he says, it's all happening right on cue. The Hermes mega catamaran, the world's largest ultra luxury commercial super yacht, now open for bookings, only taking 20 guests, lavish suites, each with a balcony, jacuzzi, walk-in closets, yada yada. The point of this is, it's like you follow crypto bros and you often only hear from them at the peaks, showing you all the watches and Rolexes that they're buying, or the cars that they're buying, or they're setting up their penthouse in Dubai or some other thing that they've bought in Dubai, just as an example, not having a go. Everyone is welcome to do their own thing in life, but this is the sort of thing that you will see towards the peaks and you don't see it towards the troughs. So another sign there, more signs that I'm watching out for, that we're coming into this peak sometime this year, sometime next year. It could even extend, at least for the stock market, late 26, maybe into 2027. These things don't have an exact bell ringing date at the top because, of course, the economy is a bit more complex than a single day to a peak and then a collapse. It takes a bit of time, just like what we saw in the previous move around 2005, 2006, and in some areas up to around 2007, like we saw with the stock market. But again, this is about US home prices and the business cycle. All right, guys, that is me done for today. Nice move up here. Let's continue to follow to see how much higher this thing goes. Hopefully the volume comes back in and all of the good signs of strength that we want to see when a market breaks higher. Other than that, this was the other amazing thing, USDT dominance. Let's keep watching this to see if it can break down. 3.7%. I'm going to go crazy. It's going to be absolutely wild if that actually happens. Okay, bull mania, let's go for it. Like, subscribe. Sale is on 24 hours. See you at the next one. I'm giving you the peace sign. Take care, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.